Yes,
If
you do.
he was a pack rat, how could he document what he had there?
Well, I was able to take everything out and document every pair of socks, every pair of underpants, every sheet, every baby towel, every pair of underpants, everything that they had in that house. And it took me a couple days to do it. And part of my job, that's what I do. I document everything, down to the pair of socks.
Now, an insurance adjuster from the insurance company doesn't do something like that, I'm assuming, or do they?
Not to that detail. And since they don't do it to that detail, you won't get as much money from them. They'll say, miscellaneous clothes, $200. I'll give 2 pages of itemized clothing, and it will be $800. And if they're covered for replacement costs, they'll get that $800 back.
But you know what sort of the threshold is with an insurance company, how much they will accept. When you could put in $25,000 for clothes, and they wouldn't accept that, I'm assuming.
Well, I bring them around. A lot of them are very busy, and a lot of them will go ahead and take my itemized list, and they'll look at it and they go, okay, Greg, you did the work. Oh, here are the pictures. You documented everything. Looks pretty good. We're going to go ahead and pay you. That's happens most of the time because they're very busy. It's very rare to have an adjuster come in and look over it as such detail as I put into my reports. And if they know me and they know that I do it correctly, then they don't have a problem.
What are some examples of the kinds of things you've done out here? What kinds of, at what level of damage have you come in on a claim?
Well, one of the worst claims that I've seen was just by water. It was a pipe that broke in the second floor, and it was a freeze-up. And that water destroyed all the oak floors on the second floor, and the water ran down the stairs, destroyed the oak stairs. It ran into the first floor, destroyed all the oak floors on the first floor, destroyed all the walls on the first floor, destroyed most of the walls on the second floor.
And that's because the water was running through the walls.
Yes, and then it went all the way down into the basement, of which a lot of us store a lot of contents down there, and they had 4 foot of water into the basement.
Oh, wow.
Well, this was an
2 years ago,
individual.
probably.
Yeah, this was an individual who lives in the city and leaves her house for weeks at a time.
So, did you come in before the insurance company? Or?
I was called to meet with the insurance company.
And so they didn't give an estimate before you came in?
No.
Right. Because some people have said an insurance company will come to your house and they'll offer you a flat deal, or they'll give you a price. They'll try to make a deal right there at your house. Is that true?
That is one of the, that is very true. That's one of the biggest mistakes that you ever want to do. It's very exciting to have an insurance adjuster write out a $20,000, $30,000 check like that, but once you sign it and cash it, you don't go back. You cannot go back. I'll give you an example. When I was down in Florida during Hurricane Andrew, an insurance company, I won't mention the name, had gone to a particular individual and within an hour wrote him out a check for $25,000. He was ecstatic on how fast they came out, how quickly he was able to write the check. $25,000 sitting in your hand, you really want to cash that check. He called me, Greg, can you come over and take a look at my house? I don't know if this is enough to handle or to pay all the damages. Just check it out. So I went over and I totaled $60,000 in damages.
Oh, wow.
We held the check. A week later I met with the adjuster and we settled on $50,000. So that was twice the amount that he was originally given.
And where was most of this, the difference in the price? Where was it?
Is seeing the balance of the damages. He had a tree that hit the side of the house and had scratched a bunch of paint off. Now you have to repaint the whole house to match. That was not figured into
They
the
were going to
estimate.
just repair the scratch
Yeah,
part.
just paint it over, but you have to. They had a section of the roof that was blown off that they didn't see because the adjuster never got up on the ladder. I got up on the ladder and I saw the section of roof that was blown off. Now, in order to make the whole roof match with this, what do? You replace the whole roof.
Oh, that's nice. So, no, I don't think your average person knows that. I mean, if they say, all right, we'll fix that hole in the roof, we'll re-shingle it and everything, I would accept that. But what you're saying is that, no, they really have to do the whole roof.
That's correct. Your average person who tries to do the loss himself or uses his own contractor that he knows will be getting a check for at least 20% less than what I can get them. And my fees range between 5 and 10%.
Speaking of fees, how do you charge for your services?
It's between 5 and 10% of whatever I get.
Oh, that's what you, yeah.
Business owner or property owner.
Well, that sounds reasonable.
And I do work for gurneys out here. I do work for barristers out here. I've done work on Montauk Manor out here.
What's too small a job?
I would say nothing's too small. I don't turn anything down. I at least come by and tell the people what they should do, whether or not they should put a claim in or not. And I always make it a point to review their insurance policy, just to tell them if they should get additional coverages or if they're covered too much. Sometimes the insurance company will tell you need $400,000 worth when you might need $250,000 worth. So I review their policy and help them with that, with the idea that next time they do have a real loss or one of their friends, they'll remember me and call me back.
Oh, sure, yeah. Now, if someone has an older home, let's say they've lived there, 20 years, 15 or 20 years, and they've had the same insurance policy, it just keeps getting renewed. Should they take that to someone like you and have it looked over, where you can tell them, gee, this is really archaic, what you've got in here, or you need more because your house is older, or what could you suggest on that front?
There are some insurance carriers now who are writing policies that will not cover you for the antiquity of your house. So if you have an older home and you have precious moldings along the floor or around the windows or the really nice doors with stained glass, you will not be covered for those if you have damage to them. So it's important to go ahead and review your policy to make sure you are, or to tell your broker that you want to be covered for these things.
And what are some of the most important things to have in a contract now? The outstanding things that we could go away with?
Well, you want to at least have replacement cost. You have to have replacement cost. Even better is guaranteed replacement cost. A lot of people in Florida didn't have the guaranteed replacement cost, so when the costs of materials shot up in Florida, you weren't given the dollar amount for the escalation in value. You were just given what a normal roof would cost to put up. So it is good to have the guaranteed replacement cost. It usually costs $1 more per year. A lot of people don't know that. So you want that. You also want to have building ordinance or law in your policy. A lot of people do not have that. And if you read your policy...
What is that, building?
Building ordinance or law.
Yeah, what is that?
And that protects you if you have an older home and you have a fire or a flood or a pipe break.
Pipe break, more likely.
You have damages to, say, the exterior walls. And you were 2x4 walls with that type of insulation. Now the town or the village comes in and says, you have to put the thicker insulation in and the wider walls, and you have to take these windows. These are single-pane windows. You need double-pane windows. Your insurance company won't pay you for the difference. They pay you for what you had there before. So if you had 2x4 walls with the 2x4 insulation, you get paid for that.
Yeah.
So if the town and village comes in and says you have to upgrade, then you have to take that money out of your pocket. So it's very important to have that building ordinance or law when you do have an older home.
And how do you get that?
You ask your broker. And that usually costs anywhere from $10 to $50 more a year. But when you go ahead and increase your deductible, then that disappears as a cost. And I'd be happy to come by and take a look at the loss for you. It doesn't cost you anything for me to come out. And even if people don't hire me, I always tend to give some free advice to them so they can go ahead and get started with the claim. It's always good to take pictures right when something happens, which a lot of people don't do. And it's always a good idea to not throw away property until the insurance company comes to see it. So there's a lot of little things that people don't know that they're covered for. One other item I'll mention before I finish is that if you do have a fire-type loss, you're covered for your food stuff. The electric goes out, you have food in the refrigerator, that gets damaged. You have cereals and such. If smoke hits it, then they're all damaged. They're no good anymore. Even heat hitting cans, the food is no good anymore for that. If you have prescription drugs and you have a fire in the house, they're no longer good anymore, and you'd be paid for that. Eyeglasses, you're paid for that. So there's a lot of things people don't realize.
There's a lot of little things that you wouldn't think of.
Yeah, and I put them all together.
Do you have a checklist that you can give the homeowner and say, now here's all the things that you should keep your lists on?
Well, one thing they should do is, if they have a video camera, is video cam everything that they have in the house.
And keep put that someplace else.
Yeah, not in the house, somewhere else in their car.
Well, Greg, thank you very much for joining us. It was very nice to meet you,
Okay.
and we'll certainly have you come back with more information.